Thank you very much. Hello, it's good to see you again. As you know, we just concluded a briefing, our monthly briefing of the Security Council. This follows actually a briefing we gave via VTC from Damascus just 2 weeks ago to discuss the progress. As you know, in terms of chemical weapons removal for onward destruction, including destruction in country, we've reached significant progress, 92%. However, there is concern, and that we've also expressed as a joint mission, that the remaining 8% is currently inaccessible due to the security conditions in country. It's very important, of course, that Syria completes the cycle, concludes. All efforts are being made, and with the Council we discussed different approaches to that. We've also reviewed progress in the discussion on the destruction of the production facilities and ongoing discussions in Damascus with our counterparts on possible discrepancies and some amendments that are to be made to the declaration. That is based on Syria's own declaration, verification by the joint mission, and ongoing work. This is happening in the usual constructive spirit. But of course, significant milestones have been met, but we do need that final push to achieve 100% and to complete the work as foreseen in the entire chemical weapons elimination program. Thank you.
Can you describe what's going to happen with the chlorine attacks?
Indeed, that was also a question, of course, many council members asked. As you know, under the convention, the OPCW Director General Ahmed Uzumcu has established a fact-finding mission that is now in Damascus, and the Secretary General has, of course, offered the full support as has been requested by the Director General, but the support currently from the UN, the engagement by the UN is logistical and security assistance. The mission itself is led entirely and managed by OPCW to date.
Sir, yes?
Thank you. What do you need security-wise in order to be able to get rid of the remainder of the chemical weapons or materials in Syria?
Well, we need access. The authorities, rather, need unfettered access to the site. 2 other sites that are in the vicinity of this location, which is not far out of Damascus, have been overtaken by armed opposition groups. The roads themselves to the site are not reachable currently. Of course, it has serious implications for both arrival of joint mission staff, but also the authorities themselves, and for the safe extraction of the material for convoys to depart safely and securely. We're now looking at ways to get to the site regardless, to start the preparatory work, so if and when the situation improves or changes and the authorities can conduct the last convoy, we're only talking about 16 containers, 5 priority 1, 11 priority 2 chemical weapons material, then that operation can be concluded very quickly. It's a matter of less than a working week in its totality, and that allows the authorities to stay as close to the 30th of June deadline as possible, because the ships are waiting. Our Norwegian and Danish friends, they're waiting. They want to take the last batch of the chemical materials, and the US ship, of course, is very eager to start destruction because the clock is ticking.
How big is the risk that the opposition can put their hands on those materials? How big is the risk that the opposition can put their hand on those materials?
It's very difficult to comment on that. I don't have independent military relevant information.
Okay, we're going to go to Luke, please.
Yes, some countries raised concerns about discrepancies, ambiguities about the original declaration inside. I mean, is this something that going forward, as you move past the June 30th deadline and once everything is completed, you are expecting to continue looking into verifying the completeness of the original declaration?
It's a very relevant question. I mentioned just now, you may recall the mission that has been sent, technical mission from The Hague. It falls under the aegis of the joint mission, that is for sure, because the declaration has been the basis of the chemical weapons elimination program. If there are discrepancies, some of them are of a very technical nature, there are some other questions that are being asked that is currently being discussed that falls under the joint mission. And a number of council members have indicated they do not consider the work of the joint mission done, of course, only by removal. Removal of the chemical weapons of the chemical weapons material is only one component part. That's why I mentioned production facilities, A lot of the 100% benchmarks have been reached on munition, filling capacities, other production facilities, storage sites have been closed. Significant progress across the board in the program has been realized. But so these are the 3 areas of ongoing work, and we need to make sure that this is closed as well.
So just to follow up on Lou's question, when you reach 100%, is your mission over, or does your mission continue?
That's a question for the Security Council to answer. A number of member states have indicated in the Council that they consider the overall elimination, the entire program needs to be concluded before the mission is over. What we have said, we are working on a reconfiguration of the mission because we have staff, we have a presence that can be adjusted in line with what needs to be done. The principle of form follows function will be applied here, and I've made a number of proposals to that effect.
There have been some reports that chemical weapons were transferred into Lebanon. I mean, there have been some reports unconfirmed to that effect. Is that something that has come to your attention or to the OCPW's attention as something to check?
I have no information on this.
On the chlorine, how important is the time factor? I understand that chlorine dissipates. It's very difficult to investigate after it's gone.
I'm not in a position to comment. I think you have to ask that question to the OPCW experts and members of the fact-finding mission.
Okay, Matthew, and then we finish with you, please.
Sure. I wanted to ask about this site too. One, do you know which armed groups are in control there? And also, I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. The company selected for destruction, this Veolia, some have raised that it's a company that does business in the occupied Palestinian territories, which some, like Helsinki, is thinking of boycotting them. There's various campaigns about the company. And I just wondered, in making the selection, was this considered at all? Do you think that it's an appropriate selection?
I'm not going to comment because I was not part of the selection process. OPCW conducted a tendering process, and you have to ask them the question on the last matter. The first one, it's very difficult. The picture of which armed opposition groups are operating where is very diffuse. As you know, there are many alliances. The UN security team, both in Damascus as well as, of course, here, tries to monitor, but it's a shifting ground on a daily basis. However, we've made a strong plea, again in the Council, to urge all member states that may have any influence or leverage over any of the groups that operate in Syria to not conduct any activities that directly or indirectly impede the safe and secure removal, so to allow for the chemical weapons elimination program to be completed in a timely manner. And that remains an important call we continue to make. Member states have a responsibility.
Last question.
Just as a follow-up to that, have you yourself been in contact, or people from your staff been in contact with any of the major opposition groups to try and get some kind of a ceasefire so that the rest of this 8% can actually be removed from the site?
For this last question, for this last 8% and the area where it's at, the situation, security conditions would not permit it, and the nature of the different groups also would not make it appropriate. In general, also through the offices of OJSR, we have often reached out, made it known when missions are traveling to make sure that we do not find ourselves at the wrong place at the wrong time. However, as you know, it's a very challenging situation also for our humanitarian colleagues. And I think that that situation demonstrates itself. We rely entirely for our safety and security on the Syrian authorities, who've provided that consistently from day one of the start of this operation, as they do for the UN country team, as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
No one's been held accountable for the hundreds killed last year, and does that put a damper on things?
Sorry.